Hi, welcome to this AQA A-Level Business revision video focusing on 3.3.1 setting marketing objectives. Don't click off of this video. The marketing objectives and all the other objective videos are not trivial. They're actually really important and underpin a lot of the concepts that make up our A-Level. Just a quick reminder that my teaching here is linked in no way to my teaching or consultancy roles in any academies around the country. My name is Mr. Giles. Let's get down to business. So first of all, we have to explore the difference between functional objectives and the corporate objectives. If you haven't watched my corporate objective video, I'll link it in the description down below. It's really important you watch that. So to remind you, corporate objectives are the overarching objectives or goals that the business is trying to achieve, and they're linked to things like mission statements. Again, please go and watch that video. The functional objectives are what each functional area is trying to achieve, and it's linked to what the overall goal of the business is. So, for example, if our corporate objective is survival, the marketing objective will pick an appropriate objective of their own to help fulfill that objective. That's often missed, but still quite key and important. I've got 4 different objectives for you today. This is not an exhaustive list. There are many more, but these are the general 4 that come up. 2 of them have a bit of a formula involved as well. So let's just jump into it. Firstly, we've got sales value and sales volume. So the marketing objective of sales value is looking at increasing how much money per purchase is made. And my favorite example of this is if you've ever bought any sort of electronics, or if your parents have bought cars, they'll always try and increase the value of those things. Would you like the extended warranty? Would you like the breakdown cover? Would you like that? And they're just trying to increase the value of that singular purchase. That's sales value. The example you're probably most familiar with is whenever you've gone to, say, like a restaurant, and they're like, hey, do you want some onion rings? Or McDonald's, do you want to supersize that? They are all sales value tactics because they're trying to increase the purchase per person, okay? Often kind of explained as the average spend, if you've heard that kind of phrase in maybe like drop shipping or something. Sales volume is getting you to put more things in your basket. So this would be when you go to, say, a supermarket like Tesco's. At the end of the aisle, they have, a myriad of items that are available for a slightly reduced price. Oh, hey, look, on sale this week is cereal, ketchup, and chocolate bars. These are just £1 each. Chuck them in your basket. And you go, well, they're only £1, and you put them in your basket. So you walk out with more things than you intended to. That's sales volume. Now, as you can imagine, if you're selling cars, sales volume is probably not the right idea. You're not going to buy one car. It's probably more to do with sales value. But if you're in a supermarket, it's difficult to get people to maybe buy the bigger, jar of coffee, but it'd be easier to get them to buy coffee and biscuits. So we have to pick the appropriate kind of value or volume for the appropriate business. Now, if you're linking it back to your corporate objectives, if we go back to my survival example, maybe sales value or volume is probably the appropriate objective if we're trying to survive, because we're trying to generate more revenue. Okay, so that's where we're going with this. Up next, we have the classic market share. Now, I'm going to kind of go against the grain of what I normally do, and I'm going to do 2 things at once here. Market share and market growth kind of go hand in hand, and they're really important when we kind of go and look at the Boston matrix in a few videos times. Market share is what percentage of the total market your business basically owns. So of all the money that's being spent in your market, how much of that money is being spent on your business? And that's done by a formula here where we have our sales divided by the total market sales. So if our sales are, say, 1 billion and the total market sales are 4 billion, times that by 100, our market share would be 25%. To increase our market share, we simply want to steal some customers from our other competitors. That's what market share is. It's really important we understand that. So if the total market is worth 4 billion and we have 1 billion in sales, to increase our market share, we need to steal some of that other 3 billion from our competitors. Again, we're stealing from our competitors. This is an important distinction. Market growth, on the other hand, is when we try to encourage people to join our market. So if our current market is worth 4 billion, what we try and do is encourage new people to come to our market to increase the total size of our market And whilst we're encouraging them to join the market, we encourage them to buy from us. So we're not stealing from competitors. What we're actually doing is we're trying to get new customers that aren't previously customers to A, join the market, and B, join the market to buy from us. So that would be the equivalent of, say, Coca-Cola trying to encourage 5-year-olds to buy and drink Coke Zero. Now, obviously, that's not a situation, but if I was to ask you what would be easier, getting for Coca-Cola, getting customers who love Pepsi to drink Coke, or to convince 5-year-olds to drink Coke, I think we'd all agree that the latter is probably easier. It's unethical and immoral, but it's probably easier. So Coca-Cola want to simultaneously get more people buying fizzy drinks in total, and they want to steal from Pepsi. So for Coca-Cola, market share and market growth is probably their objective. Okay, so market share is stealing from your competitors. Market growth is bringing brand new customers to that market who weren't in that market before and getting them to buy from you. One is often easier than the other. And then lastly, we have brand loyalty. Now, this is very tricky to explain. Okay, brand loyalty, or the concept of a brand, as I like to explain it, is this: a brand is a promise. Okay, a brand is a promise. Now, hopefully, you're all young people watching this video, so you will be aware of the brand Nike, or Nike, depends on where you're from in the world. Okay, Nike's promise is that if you buy a pair of Air 90s, I don't know what they're called, sorry folks. All right, you buy a pair of Nikes that are hip, cool, and trendy, you will in fact be hip, cool, and trendy. All right, they give you social status, they give you social credit. Okay, now if I turn up to your social event in my Diadora tennis shoes, probably a brand that some of you have never heard of before, I have zero social credit. Okay, so I will then be like, well, I didn't pay a lot for these shoes anyway, I can't expect to have the same social credit. All right, that's Nike's promise. If you wear Nike's clothes, you will have social status, and there's a little bit to do with quality in there as well. Okay, now none of us are thinking that Nike is our best outfit, but they're not our cheapest outfit either. That is the promise that Nike gives to you, so that when you wear it, it should deliver on that. Okay, that's branding. Brand loyalty is when we get customers to buy into that promise in the form of repeat customers. Okay, so we buy Nike trainers. It in fact does give us social credit. So we go back and we buy more Nike trainers either at the same time or in the future, and we continue to be a customer for Nike. That is how we produce brand loyalty. Now, branding is difficult to execute because you have to A, make a promise, B, fulfill that promise, and C, let people know about that promise. But that is a lot to do with kind of marketing in general, which we'll get on in later videos. So those are our 4 marketing objectives, and most businesses will probably be only focusing on 1 or 2, depending on what the corporate objective is. And again, to go back to my previous example, if we were in a concept of survival, so our corporate objective is survival for whatever reason, we probably wouldn't be working on brand loyalty because that costs a lot of money. And during survival, we want to reduce our costs. We'd probably be looking at, say, sales value or volume. But if we're looking to, say, increase profit or revenue, actually brand loyalty is a really good one because we'll be able to sell our customers more things. If they're more loyal, they're more susceptible to increased prices, etc., etc. Those are our marketing objectives. The next video will be focusing on marketing and its various core components. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please put them down below in the comments and I'll try and get back to them as quick as I can. I'll see you in the next one.